Hello, good afternoon. We're going to be starting in a couple of minutes. We're going to be using Slido throughout the event, and it's already open for you to access it. So you can either use a QR code that is going to be displayed on your screen, or you can log into slido.com and use the hashtag call3topics. If you can hear us, if you can see us, if you can access the Slido, we're all set, and we'll be back in a minute. Good afternoon. Welcome to this online event of the European Urban Initiative. As many of you know, we recently launched the third call for proposal, and we announced two topics: energy transition and technology in the city. The aim of today's event is to go more in details into these two topics, so that after you can see if your project idea is a good fit for the call for proposal. My name is Catherine McCarran. I'm a project officer here at the Secretariat, and I will be your host for today. During the event, we're going to be using Slido to collect your questions, and I have one of my colleagues here to help me. Let me introduce Amelie. Hi, Amelie.
Hi, Kathleen. Hi, everybody.
So can you tell us more what your role will be during the event?
Yes, indeed. I will be actually with you for the whole duration of the event, and I will wear the hat of the question Slido master, meaning that I'll be moderating the questions, and we will be using Slido, as you said, Kathleen. So Slido is an online platform accessible via mobile, so you can use the QR code on screen to access it, or you can go directly through your browsers. If you do so, use the hashtag call3topics to access Slido. On Slido, you can ask the questions in the Q&A tab. And you can even do more, actually. You have the possibility to look at the questions posted, and you can also give thumbs up to those questions if you are interested in. It will actually avoid having multiple times the same question posted, and it will also help us very much in knowing what the most popular questions. So we've just launched first poll with 3 questions. And you should see them on screen now. The first one is which country are you joining us from? The second question is under which topic are you considering? Sorry. Are you considering applying? And the third question is how likely are you to apply in the third call? So we count on your answers.
Thank you very much, Amelie. So yes, don't be shy. Use Slido to ask your questions. It will be a great opportunity to have people from the Commission coming here to answer them. And while we're waiting for the audience to answer Slido, we're going to have a look at today's agenda. So we'll begin with an overview of the policy context to understand a bit how these topics are in the context of the global policy. So we'll start by energy transition, followed by technology in the city. We'll then go into more details on the key expectations of the call, followed by time for questions. Similarly, we'll start with energy transition, followed by technology in the city. After that, we'll have a project joining us from Greece, from Egaleo. They were approved in the EUI Call 1 and be here to share their experience. To finish, we'll be speaking with 2 former assessors who were a member of external panel who did the strategic assessment for previous calls. Right. Let's have a look at the Slido now, maybe, Amelie.
Sure. So let's have a look at the results. I'm looking at them and make sure that you can see them also. Here we are. And you should see the results here on the screen now.
Can we have a look at the... It would be good if we could have a look at the presenter where we have the word cloud with all the member states of where people are joining us from.
Yeah, but it feels that it does not appear. Anyway, I have the results for you, so I can tell you where you come from. So we have a very diverse audience today, with participants joining us from all over Europe, so Italy, Spain, Portugal, France, Hungary, Bulgaria. And we have a good representation of Italy, And I'm really happy to see this participation from all over Europe because it will definitely enrich our discussions today. Let's have a look now to the second questions and the results. Under which topics are you considering applying? And we see here that the most popular topic is technology in the city. It's actually a bit different from the feedback that we got from the first info session, which is very interesting also for us to see that we have different audience also participating today. And the third question was if you are likely to apply in the third call. And we have, 22% of the participants that responded yes. So it's really encouraging for us, and we are really happy to have you with us for today's session.
Yes, indeed. Great that a lot of you are interested in applying for the call. Before we start, some information that can be of use for you. If you were not able to join us on the 6th of May, we organized an online event to launch the call. The recording is available online, so you can go on our website and have a look. The two events were designed to be complementary, so we're not going to go too much in details on the overall context of the call. However, some key points that will be of use for you to know today. The first one, we launched the call on the 6th of May, and it will close on the 14th of October at 2 p.m. The second key information is that we have an overall budget of 90 million euros, and we allocate a maximum budget of 5 million euros per city, and we have a co-funding rate of 80%, so which is quite high. So it's a very interesting call. We should really encourage you to apply. And the last piece of information, we already mentioned it. We have two topics announced for this call: energy transition and technology in the city. Finally, the overall call 3 is very similar to call 1 and call 2. So if you already know our initiative, nothing much has changed. However, we have a new eligibility rule, which means that if your city was selected as a main urban authority or as an associated urban authority in call 1 or in call 2, you're no longer eligible. This rule does not apply to cities who are potentially transfer partners. Right. For today, we've also prepared a little quiz to kind of make the session a bit more fun and encourage you also to share your knowledge. So maybe we can start and have a look at this little knowledge quiz. Amelie, back to you.
Sure. We will have actually two questions to start with this quiz and with the fun part of today's event. The first one will be displayed now on Slido. You need actually to go on Slido to fill in your name to be able to respond to this quiz. And actually we have something for you. So there will be a prize for the person with the most correct answers. And if we have two winners ex aequo, then it will be the fastest. So you have now 10 seconds to respond to the questions. At what exact time, is the call closing? So I hope you have now the question in front of you on Slido. You should have it on the screen as well. And you have four options. The first one is 12, the second one is 2, the second one is 6, and the third one is 10 to 12. So feel free to answer. Now we will look at the results of this question now. So you should have the results in front of you. So you've responded that the exact time is 2, and this is the correct answer. Congratulations. So let's go to the next question. The next question is, what is the ERDF co-funding rate of the initiative? Is it 20%, 30%, 70%, or 80%? ERDF stands here for European Regional Development Fund. As you may know, I will give you some few seconds to answer, and we will look at the results now. So you all, almost responded the correct answer, which is 80%. Congratulations. And this is it for this part of the quiz. I'm giving you the floor back, Kathleen.
Great, thank you very much, Amélie. Without further ado, let's welcome our first speaker. He's joining us from Brussels. He works at the European Commission as a policy officer for DG ENAR. So soon we'll hear from Georg Huben.
Hello, everyone. I'm invited to give a bit of an insight on the clean energy transition, it seems. I'm happy to be here and also happy to answer your questions. So, Kathleen, I don't know whether I should simply go ahead and give an insight, or do you want me to ask?
Yes, please feel free to share about the Commission's perspective on energy transition. The floor is yours.
Okay, let's do that. Clean energy transition in terms of delivering the EU Green Deal at the local level is extremely important. We certainly see a very specific role for cities there. As you might know, or maybe not, we have recently put a legal framework in place, the Fit for 55 package, which comes with a lot of legal conditions, but also supportive legal frameworks. Yet, as a matter of fact, these legal frameworks also impose a lot of challenges on cities. One of which, for example, is the heat plans for cities above 45,000 inhabitants. This simply to really make it work and to push for changes on the ground at the local level, because we really see that cities are at the front line of events, and the energy transition, the clean energy transition, is just one of the big pillars we have to address. All of which adhere to the EU Green Deal, of course, and to climate change. I would also say that cities are not only those ones who have to bear the challenges. There's a whole lot of opportunities going alongside, and this call is just one of them. So this is also a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, actually, to bring cities to a stage where they can truly contribute to a better Europe, and also truly contribute to becoming climate neutral. This is actually the perspective I would like to bring, and it's, in my view, alongside other areas to which the energy transition is very much linked. Think about mobility, think about digital assets. My colleague later on, Helen, will certainly give an insight on that. So it's not that you would tackle energy like in silo, but it's just a part of a big catalog in the urban space, which needs to be addressed to make our cities more livable and attractive. And maybe one last word. This is certainly true also for exactly the small and mid-sized cities, because what we saw is that we have an urban population in Europe of roughly 75% of the entire population. Of that urban population, we have roughly 2/3 of the cities which are actually below 100,000 inhabitants. And as you see, based on what I said at the beginning, those cities with more than 45,000 already have a challenge to address heat plans, which makes sense, but is, of course, a challenge. So this call, and specifically the clean energy transition topic, is aiming to help with that, to really make some progress, and also to be in a position to replicate that, to tell the story to other cities, make for replication, upscaling, and so on, inspiring others, all that good stuff. And participating in this call is actually one part to get closer to climate neutrality. Thanks.
Thanks. And you mentioned the question of sustainability. It's also a great opportunity for cities to think about energy transition in a more inclusive way. Maybe you can explain what the Commission understands as the just transition and how cities can contribute to that.
Yes, thank you very much for the question, Kathleen. Yes, indeed, it should. I mean, we are very much linked to, the technical discussion on the transition. What solutions do we need? What technology do we need to deploy? And all that stuff, which is, of course, bright and shiny, and everyone gets really excited about it. But when we talk about the transition, it's a transition which should not leave anyone behind. So we are very aware also from the clean energy transition perspective, that we absolutely need to take care about the vulnerable ones, the vulnerable households. The aspect of energy poverty needs also to be addressed. And that is something cities have to tackle as well. Cities are always, if I may say so, and I might have already said it, at the front line of things. So energy poverty is one of the most critical issues. While it might not be perceived as a technical issue, it's something which effectively hinders the deployment of, let's say, sustainable technologies in cities and making cities actually greener, also more resilient in both ways. That is environmental, from a climate change point of view, but also from a social point of view. We absolutely need to make sure that every citizen is involved and has a chance to be a part of this clean energy transition. Another keyword in that context is, of course, the discussion on energy communities, energy sharing, these kinds of things, which make the clean energy transition inclusive, and how we can make sure it's a consumer or prosumer or citizen-centric process.
Great. Thank you very much for that opening. We'll be back with Georg soon, so if you have, you can prepare your questions for him. He'll come back after the second introduction. So soon, I would like to invite to the floor the Head of Unit for Technologies for Smart Cities and Communities from DG Connect, Helen Kopman.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to be here together with colleagues that are very insightful on the topic. I have with me here Jose Fernandez, also called Pepe, from DG Connect, to support this call. And
well, hello, Jose. Cool. Well, thank you very much for being here today. What can you tell us about the European Commission's perspective on the topic technology in the city?
Yeah, right. I have, I think, a little bit of an infographic here or a slide that we could have as a backdrop to that discussion, because as Georg said, this is also a plan that we have had in the Commission now over this decade to embark on what we call a digital decade. And there in this digital decade, we have several targets that are relevant both for public services and for businesses and for people in the cities, for example, for digital skills, and also for connectivity as such, or digital technology as such, underlying technology. In terms of for the public services, there are targets that are for 2030 to achieve 100% online key public services, for example. That's kind of a very ambitious target. There are targets about improving e-health services for citizens as well, to have them accessing medical records. And one very fundamental thing that many public services are dependent on is the digital, what we call digital identity. This is around having a digital identity in your wallet that you totally control yourself, that give you access to different public services. It could also be businesses in the city that get access to those services. Those are some key targets that we have for this digital decade. In terms of businesses also, there's targets in terms of technology uptake for companies. So we want 75% of companies in EU to use cloud, AI, and big data. And the innovators as well, for them we have a target of doubling the unicorns in the EU region by the end of the decade compared to the start of the decade, obviously. So why is this relevant for cities? Because it's, of course, inscribed in an ecosystem of a city. And all the people that live in the city, the businesses and the public services are thriving in this ecosystem. So it's important to address all the targets. But I'm also happy to see that this call 3 in a series is coupled here with the energy transition, because I think it's very relevant to think about also the twin transition, because we have the digital and the green transition that we are embarking on this decade. And in fact, they are very complementary to each other. Digital technology can very much unlock targets for the Green Deals, such as in energy. So it's very interesting to look at the combination of digital to target also the energy targets that you talked about and other targets in the Green Deal. Because it's all about the societal challenges in the cities. So it's not only, of course, about energy. It's like, how do you manage traffic flows? How do you improve air pollution? And other issues that could be transversal and combine a combination of them. For example, multimodal mobility and so on. Mm-hmm. So in terms of the technologies like this that this call is targeted on, I think the cities should see this as a toolbox of technologies to be used where it is relevant and most practical. And that could be technologies like artificial intelligence, use of big data and analysis, cloud services, and connectivity as such. All those are tools in a toolbox that a city can use to address these societal challenges.
Yeah, their urban challenges. Thank you very much, Helen, for this overview. It's very helpful to kind of put the call in a bigger context. If you have questions for Georg and Helen, write them down. They'll be back with us. But now we're going to welcome our colleagues from DG Regio, which is the team that is in charge of preparing this call. So our next speaker is from France. He works at DG Regio as a policy officer, and he will present the topic energy transition. So let me welcome François Gallagher. Hi, François.
Hello. Hi, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much, Kathleen. Good afternoon also on behalf of DG Regional and Urban Policy that I'm glad to represent today. Together with another colleague, Gabrielle, we will be intervening a bit later hopefully, if connections get better. I'm indeed policy officer in the Inclusive Growth Urban and Territorial Unit of the DG Regio, that is directly responsible hand in hand together with the Permanent Secretariat for the Management of the European Urban Initiative. And at this title, I'm particularly pleased to introduce you to the topic on energy transition that I've been following a bit more closely in the frame of the preparation of this third call.
Well,
but
François,
before I do
the
this,
floor is yours. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, no, perhaps you didn't heard me just before. I was just saying good afternoon to everyone on behalf of
we
DG
did
Radio.
hear you. Sorry, apologies.
Okay.
I thought you were going to start the presentation.
Okay, thanks a lot, Kathleen. I was just also willing to start by thanking very warmly the Permanent Secretariat for organizing this session, and also my colleagues from DG Connect and DG ENER for pitching in and on helping us to contextualize the call in the light of the mega trends that wait on the future of Europe and EU policy responses to adapt. Jörg, I would say that in particular, I believe that you very nicely facilitated my task today by recalling, of course, the key parameters of the EU Green Deal, the Fit for 55 legislative package that is core to it, and most of all, perhaps, how fundamental the role of urban authorities will be within this picture to reach carbon neutrality by 2050. There is, in reality, not very much that I can add to this big picture on the EU energy transition, except perhaps highlighting one important point, which is the role of cohesion policy as well within this context. And this is quite crucial in a way to better understand what is a kind of innovative projects the Commission is looking at, in particular for support from the European Regional Development Fund, the ERDF, as principal source of funding of the EOI. So I will start by recalling these few extra elements of context and rapidly go through the content of the published technical specifications, trying to focus perhaps on few tips that I would be able to give, rather than pretending to be fully exhaustive, in order to leave as much space as possible to possibly answer to your questions, which may be what you may be the most interested in today. So yes, to start with, as Georg was recalling, the EU has set for itself this very ambitious goal to become the first climate continent by 2050, and cohesion policy will be at the forefront of this objective, with an unprecedented investment of 110 billion euros in total for the 21-27 programming period, an investment all geared at a just energy transition, as it was already said, as well in regions, member states, cities, via the renovation of buildings, investments in renewables, sustainable urban mobility, or the upscaling of people for these transitions, especially in areas most dependent on carbon-intensive industries. Again, with this idea to leave no region behind to face these important transformations as a fundamental goal of cohesion policy per se. So 110 billion, this is a quite significant budget, but as we know, this will not be sufficient to bridge the funding gap to build a fully decarbonized society. So the imperative to innovate and to identify these new solutions that work to make the transition more affordable, more sustainable, and secure. And this is all what is about in this third call on the energy transition, to try to select and test innovative actions with the greatest potential to inspire programs and sustainable urban development strategies where more substantial budgets from the cohesion policy will be made available to invest in the transition. To be more concrete, 110 billion, this represents inter alia 130 cohesion policy programs across Europe that foresee priorities associated to the energy transition, explicitly targeting urban areas. And we also know that more than 12 billion, so meaning approximately half of the RDF funding earmarked by member states to the more than 2,000 sustainable urban development strategies that will be designed and implemented in close cooperation with EU cities themselves, will also be invested in investments associated to the transition. So meaning that the combinations are multiple with your proposals, with the experimentations that will take place under the EUI, to add value to cohesion policy efforts on our territories in this policy area. And this is the first and perhaps most fundamental advice I would like to give, and hope that potential applicants will retain from this presentation. Make the right connections between your project proposals and this wider cohesion policy context, as it can really pay off within a rather competitive process to highlight the relevance of your proposals, its upscale potential in particular, among many other considerations that will be weighted in the selection procedure. Next slide, please. Just to say that I would say that the same logic would apply when it comes to the closer definition on the types of projects and investments that can be supported under the energy transition theme. The prompts to urban authorities, as we call it, have been designed precisely having in mind projects with a clear demonstration effect to inspire and possibly mobilize cohesion policy for the upscale. This is a list which is certainly not exhaustive, but as you will see, wide enough to cover for a very wide range of activities. It is about, and there I hope that you see the slide from the side of the audience. I do not see it anymore myself. It is about minimizing the energy demand in cities as first priority through the decarbonization of the building stocks, of urban public transport, with a particular focus on tackling energy poverty and promoting active mobility modes. It is about diversifying also local energy sources by boosting the production of renewables, of course, and optimizing available secondary energy sources, including those that could be deriving from waste in a full spirit of circularity, or deploying smart unintegrated local energy systems with enhanced storage capabilities or more flexibility to phase out from fossil fuel energy sources. To complete this picture, and we would have to move to the next slide for this, we also are interested in new formulas to maximize multi-stakeholders, and I would insist on particularly citizens' engagement to make a stronger impact in terms of buying in clean technologies, behavior change, and empowerment of consumers as prosumers, as Jörg was explaining, possibly, for instance, through energy communities, citizens, stakeholders as actors and beneficiaries of such a virtuous transition. And perhaps also correlated to it, perhaps measures that will be going to into tapping into the jobs and skills potentials that a just transition could offer, in particular for those most vulnerable, again, with this objective to leave no one behind within this just energy transition process. What to retain from this? First, that the prompts are indicative. It's important to recall it. These are guidelines to help you to better formulate your proposals, check that you are not completely out of the targets, but these are definitively not straight categories. Second important point, it is perfectly valid, and I would say even highly recommended, to make some combinations between the ingredients from these prompts in your proposals. Under the EUI, we are very interested to support projects that distinguish themselves from more traditional investments, and precisely for being more highly integrated than the others and bring about associated multiple co-benefits in terms of socio-economic and environmental terms. Finally, because it is also important to spot it, it will be also important that you position yourself depending on where you feel that your project would be making the greatest impact, also in the light of strategic assessment criteria that will be as crucial to consider and to cross-reference when you will be studying the prompts in themselves. These are important criteria. I will not be further elaborating on this because I think Kathleen will be further recalling the logic behind later in this session. As anticipated earlier, with this new slide, there is another key requirement deriving from the terms of reference that we will be asked you to comply with. It is about identifying among the ERDF specific objectives, listed as cohesion policy targets in the terms of reference, the one that best matches with the characteristics of your proposals. The intention here is twofold. It is first an extra guidance to allow you to elaborate further on the relevance of your proposal to cohesion policy. The more specific, the better. Please try to avoid too declarative statements, such as those that we could have observed in past applications. Try to be as convincing as possible on the proposal of your project to positively influence programs where there would be some measures coinciding with the specific objectives that you will have decided to address first. This logic should normally also, perhaps at a second stage, to help you to raise the prospects of your project to be later on sustained, upscaled, possibly with the chosen specific objective and identified programs where the EUI funding will be over in a couple of years, but also possibly as an alternative source of funding if you have a good project and if you're unfortunately not retained for this call, mostly because of the limited resources attributed to it. Also, very important advice along the same logic of scale-up considerations of your project. It is very important to also make the demonstration that your proposal is complementary to, well, first your own sustainable urban development strategies, of course, but also pertinent national, regional, or local frames deriving from the EU legislation or other initiatives from the EU, such as, I would dare say, in particular, the national energy and climate plans that will enable to deploy at a wider scale your solutions when successful, to the opposite of experimentations ending as a one-off exercise with no substantial longer-term perspective because of possible disconnections with these wider legislative and financial frameworks that would allow us to progress collectively. Next slide, please. I will try to go on that one very quickly because it
so then we can discuss the
some
questions.
Yeah, this one is mostly very practical information now that concerns perhaps those of you that are less familiar with cohesion policy programming. We would be interested to get easy access to information concerning programs in your regions and countries. You will find on the link here the access to the national portals that displays the right information in national languages. And there will be also a link to info-regio web pages where summaries of all programs can also be found with basic but most useful information, such as you can see on this slide for the example of Brussels, the specific objectives targeted by the ERDF program, and the contact details of the managing authority, possibly for further details that would be needed in order to make your case. Next slide, please. This one is last but not least, perhaps the important ingredient to pay attention to from the technical specifications. It is a list of predefined indicators that we invite you to use to complete the monitoring and evaluation systems that you will be building for your own proposal. Same logic here. The list is not limitative and the use of the proposed indicators is not compulsory either. But our recommendation is to carefully screen these indicators and use them anytime that they correspond to a tangible activity or an expected result of your proposal. As evaluators from previous calls could perhaps recall later today, designing a robust and comprehensive monitoring frame is something that applicants often struggle with, and possibly for very understandable reason, because these are complex matters. The list of predefined indicators is again there to help you as applicants, not necessarily to substitute, but rather to complement your set of tailor-made indicators with metrics which corresponds to those used under cohesion policy to measure outputs and results for the given policy area. So here you will see on this slide few of these output and result indicators that would be corresponding more directly to the energy transition topic as an illustration. The proper use of these indicators will be positively assessed when it comes to the measurability of results from your proposal, so you should be also carefully considering this. Next, what will be my last slide is there is more a sort of compilation of the most useful sources of information that have been utilized for designing the terms of reference. the energy transition topic. They could, of course, be very pertinent to help you contextualizing your projects, to establish your own benchmarks in comparison to precedents, the best practices. There's plenty of information and good experiences out there. I guess we will be coming back to this. I cannot enter into every detail, of course, but this will be kept as available and for the references for you later on. I will be closing here for the moment. Thank you for the attention. I stand ready for the questions later on. And over to you, Kathleen. Thanks.
Yes, great. Thank you very much. Indeed, we will share the slides with all the links that François was sharing with you today. Maybe we can welcome Georg back again, and hearing the presentation of the call, maybe you could mention a good example that you've heard that would be a nice match for the call.
Yeah, sure. This example, I'm speaking here under control of the Regio colleagues, of course. This example is not directly related to the Urban Innovative Actions calls, but it's even more, let's say, a rather realistic example, because it is not building entirely on funding, but also takes into account a very reasonable amount of private investment. I would like to introduce to you the example of the city of Bydgoszcz. The city of Bydgoszcz is a signatory under the Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy. That's an initiative run by DG Ener and DG Klima, which was launched back in 2009 and has so far collected a bit more or close to 11,000 European cities. And so Bydgoszcz is one of those signatories committing to the climate targets of the EU Green Deal and receiving, let's say, help, political support, capacity building support from the Covenant. They have then additionally applied to a small grant of 60,000 euro in the frame of the EU City Facility, which is another project initiative run by the colleagues in CENEA, and it's coordinated, let's say, also from DG Ener. The idea is simply to help cities to develop investment plans with the help of the 60,000 euro grant. So if you want, and should you be familiar with that, it's a bit like a mini ELENA. So it's a project development assistance. And the condition, of course, is that with this 60,000 euro, a city which receives the funding develops a bankable, solid investment plan for the project they want to implement. Now, Bydgoszcz obviously did that. They developed a solid investment plan. With that investment plan, they went to apply under the Smart Cities Marketplace. The Smart Cities Marketplace is yet another initiative I happen to be in charge of, and that is providing support, technical support, but also foremost capacity building and shaping support for making an investment plan truly bankable and attractive to investors. And at the end of that process, Bydgoszcz could close, or is in the process of now closing, a deal at a magnitude of 50 million euro. And they will use these 50 million euro to, sorry, the other way around, it's 50 million euro, that's correct, sorry. And they will use these 50 million euro to build a PV, a photovoltaic installation in Bydgoszcz, for the city, but also one installation. It's in 10 installations in total, 40 megawatt. And one of these installations is even being used to produce green hydrogen to run a local electric bus fleet. So you see, if you put together a few ingredients, you can actually go about a big program. And this would also be my message to you here in the audience, that you absolutely use the Urban Innovative Action Call to go about your starting point to really establish a solid project with the help of funding, and then you go further. You scale this up, you bring this to the attention of other cities in your region, and this way help to improve the situation not only in your city, with your citizens, truly involving them, of course, based on what we have heard so far, and then really go ahead and make your city by making it climate neutral, more livable, and resilient.
Great.
That was my use case. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a very good example. We'll open the floor to question now. So, Emily, do we have any good questions from the audience?
Yes, thank you, Kathleen. It's indeed time to hear from the participants, and we have actually received some interesting questions for Georg, several ones actually, and we won't be able to take them all, but we will keep them anyway, and we will respond to them as well after the event and make the answers available to all participants. So continue asking your question, even if we don't answer them online, we will respond to them later. Let's start now with the question that is the most popular one. I think you really well understood the sums up function. That's great. It really helps a lot, so continue doing so. Our first question comes from Ivana, and her question is, in energy transition, could the cost of energy performance be related to the development of new infrastructure? So I believe, Georg, that this question is for you, so the floor is yours. We can't hear you, Georg, but the sound will be certainly back in a minute. So I just repeat the question. In energy transition, could the cost of energy performance be related to the development of new infrastructure? Giving you the floor back, Georg.
So I would guess we were talking about energy performance contracting here. That's what I would guess. And that is related to energy savings. I mean, what we encourage, of course, is that with the installation, deployment of clean energy or clean tech in cities, we would, of course, encourage energy savings, which are then reinvested in other areas of the city. But that doesn't need to be on energy technology only. As we learned, it could also be on mobility or on related connected facilities or assets. And that could also be used to provide some capacity building, like providing skills to local companies to help co-designing the clean energy transition, and so on and so forth. So that's actually the idea that we enable energy savings, which means saving costs, to be reinvested in other areas of the city. But again, not necessarily only on energy, but also on related measures, which are fitting into the overall plan of the city. I hope I have replied to the question, because it was not entirely clear to me what exactly was Ivana's point. I'm sorry.
Sure, don't worry. No, thank you very much for your answers. And in any case, we will have the opportunity to further respond later, and we will make those answers available to the participants. So thank you very much. We had another popular question from Delphine that, Georg, you've already responded to, actually, because Delphine would like to know about more concrete examples of today's innovation projects in energy transition. So, Georg, you already gave some examples, and here I also invite Delphine and the participants to go into the Portico platform, portico.urbaninitiative.eu, to search for the topic of energy transition, and you will find there all energy transition innovative projects implemented by EU cities under UIA. So it will give you some interesting examples also to look at. So yeah, I think this is it for the questions for this session. So thank you very much again for your questions. Continue to ask the speakers via Slido, and we will continue with the rest of the program.
Yes, thank you, Emily. I would like now to welcome Gabriel Donaca. He's from Romania, and he works as a program manager at DG Regio. He will present the topic technology in cities. Hi, Gabriel.
Yes.
Great.
Can you hear
How
me?
are you?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you fine. Perfect.
Great. Now I'm good. I
We know you had
I'm
little
very
issues
pleased.
joining, but it's all good now, and we can see your slides.
Yeah. So I'm really pleased to be able to talk to you, especially as I wasn't able to connect until 20 minutes ago. So really happy that you can hear me. So I will start by saying that having had the contextualization of the subject done by my colleagues, it's now time to see how cohesion policy is mobilizing to support the digital transition as a whole, and then more specifically, the use of new technologies in the cities for the benefit of the EU citizens. Could you pass the next slide, please? Following the priorities of the EU Commission, the EU cohesion policy, it's implemented in shared management between the EU Commission and the member states by programs. Programs which are built around 5 priority objectives and 23 specific objectives. One of the Commission's priorities is digitalization. And to this end, the cohesion policy provides for investments of 40 billion euros in these programs for the period to 21-27. The programs provide also funding directly to cities for the implementation of their integrated SUD strategies, Sustainable Urban Development Strategies. For this specific call, we have identified 9 specific objectives among the 23, which exist in 121 regional and national programs that are likely to support the type of project technology in cities. Based on this selection of 9 specific objectives, we have 15 billion euros that will support the implementation of more than 2,000 SUD strategies to which your project could contribute. Now, like Francois already told you, it is essential to link your project idea to technology in cities topic from the very beginning. To ask specifically how the proposed project will fit in this context. Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. Now, the purpose of the call prompts is to give you an answer to the question, what kind of project you can propose. Using new technologies like artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, digital twins, blockchain technology, big data, only to simply automate the city administration tasks is not the purpose of this call. The digital transition is built around human-centric values, such as those of inclusiveness, sustainability, in order to rebalance and improve de facto daily lives via technologies. In the prompts, we illustrate how technology could be used in innovative projects in cities. As you have seen in the text of the call, we have proposed a set of 9 prompts that cover a wide range of local needs and challenges, from better service to citizens and businesses, to data collection and sharing, to spatial planning and land use, inclusion of can you pass the next slide, please? Inclusion of persons with disability and older population. Then we arrive even to cybersecurity and food security, or prevention and mitigation of natural and man-made disasters. I'm not going to read out all the 9 prompts, but I would say that in all cases, it is important to find innovative ways of using new technologies to improve the quality of governance, the accessibility and affordability of public services, to create a favorable framework for innovation and competitiveness in the local economy, to attract and retaining talents, fighting discrimination, improve territorial development planning or decision-making process, better identify the needs of different social categories, or optimize the balance between different needs, and prepare security scenarios in the event of unforeseen events. The prompts are indicative and should be used as guidance. And we encourage you to use a mix of these prompts depending on the objectives of the proposed project. Normally, projects should be integrated and meet the objective of your SUD strategy. You need to ask yourself, what is the main impact of my project, and choose the prompt accordingly. Next slide, please. Sorry. After deciding what type of projects you want to propose, it is essential to link your proposal to the cohesion policy objectives. How can this be done? Firstly, through these 9 specific objectives that we have identified, like I said, in 121 programs, and that you can see on the slide. You need to select the specific objective that best corresponds to the objective of your project. And once you have decided, you need to be very specific, effectively explaining how your project proposal will contribute to the chosen objective. I have to mention here also that an important feature of the innovative project founded by the EUI is their transferability. Mm-hmm. So the EUI found innovative projects that can be taken up by other cities and funded to programs and specific objectives indicated here. And this is an additional reason for you to carefully consider how your project idea could fit into this context, program and specific objectives. Finally, it's also important to explain the link between the project contribution to the EU strategies and plans. Here I can tell you about digital decade, or national and regional strategies like research and innovation strategy for smart specialization. And finally, the link with the SUD strategy. For your information, you can find the specific objectives, all the specific objectives, clicking on the link at the end of the slide. Okay, next slide, please. Voila. Now here, in practical terms, in fact, it's the same slide that we had in the François presentation. In practical terms, probably you will need to see whether your national or regional program contained the specific objective you are interested in. And you will need to see in detail what type of actions will be financed, what are the targets, indicators that have been chosen for this specific objective. So in this case, you can go to our portal and search for the program you are interested in. You will find there, like François said, the summary of the program, the specific objectives, the name and address of the managing authority. Voila, next slide, please. Now, the measurability of the change brought about by your project is another element that you need to consider carefully. And from this point of view, it is essential to define a set of specific indicators that will enable you to measure the impact of your project. In the text of the call, you will find 12 output indicators and 30 result indicators that have been chosen for their relevance to the 9 specific objectives selected for the call. And this is the second way of linking your project to the cohesion policy after having chosen the specific objective, because these indicators are defined to measure the impact of the cohesion policy specific objectives. Here, of course, you have just some examples, but the use of all the 25 indicators that you will find in the call is not compulsory, but I encourage you to use them and see if they can complement your chosen set of indicators. Next slide, please. Voila, here in the last slide, we have prepared a list of reports, of programmatic documents and instruments that might be useful either for information or inspiration. You have the 9 report on cohesion that came out very recently, and I invite you to read it because it has the latest analysis based on the most recent figures. As you know, it is a mine of information for all city policies. The future of city is a little bit older, but still up to date and focuses solely, uniquely on cities from a European perspective. The Urban Agenda Partnership on Digital Transition contained a set of documents that inspired us for the prompts of this call. I think it's significant because it expresses the analysis, the position, the solution proposed also by city authorities on the theme of digital transition. Very interesting, the UIA digital transition call. It is an interesting way of looking at the innovative digital transition projects that have been funded by the Commission in the past. Then you have the Urban Data Platform, which is, I think, an extremely useful tool for finding out about programs, SUD strategies, implementation of territorial approaches, mainly for 1420, and it will be updated progressively with data for 21-27. The next 3 links are important Commission programmatic documents and program that you need to consult in order just to contextualize the theme of technology on cities when you will elaborate your proposal. And the last link, it is the portal where you can find the programs I mentioned on the slide 6, I think. Voila.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. That's great.
Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thanks. We'll share all these resources, of course, with the audience after this event. Maybe I can invite Helen to react on the presentation and maybe share your insight, like based on what you heard. Where do you see the main opportunities for cities to innovate?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for letting me do that. And I thought that was a very good backdrop to this. I think we have to recognize that cities and communities are in very different stages of maturity, going from the more fundamental infrastructure put in place, like connectivity, cloud services, and so on, towards more advanced things. And for that, I just wanted to share with you that we have put in place some support for you to assess your own maturity in terms of digital in your journey on the digital transition. And I will share after, I think, or the colleagues here will share some links around that. I think we also have an interesting source in terms of procurement help desk, because many of these technologies will have to be procured, and there are support to help you do that and share share experience with other cities that have do this, so you can do it effectively. One thing that this technology also has in common is about the data. Many of the tools that I've been talking about in the toolbox, AI, cloud, and connectivity, as well as data, of course, needs a structuring of data. And for that, we have put together also a sort of a mechanism for interoperability of data that could be important to have a look at on how you put the fundamentals on effectively being able to use these as systems. So we will also share this.
That's great.
But going from the start to the end, I would like to share with you a bit more state-of-the-art example of what can be done in this area. So if you can share the next slide I have on digital twins. I think that some of you might already work with these issues, but I have an example of a city that I've worked with digital twins that maybe can be shared here. So digital twins is a digital replica of a city with real-time and historical data, such as traffic, air quality, energy use, waste management, and so on, that can be used to enhance planning and resource management. And we have a city in Luxembourg. I don't know if you can see this slide. It has been shared, but otherwise I will talk around it.
Otherwise, you can share your slides if we're not able to put them on.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's actually quite interesting to take an example of a digital twin, because when we hear digital twin, we can have the feeling that we've heard about them, we know them. So, that maybe they're not that innovative anymore. But when we were discussing, you were explaining how, well, actually having a tool just for having a tool is not very interesting. It's also what you make of this tool and what you make of this digital twin that can add value to the innovative approaches that your city adopts.
Absolutely. Okay, I will do this without slide. We can share them after.
Great.
So
yeah, we'll share the slides.
Sure. So I just wanted to talk about this city in Luxembourg called Differdange, who has set the goal of producing locally and sustainable 100% of its global need in electricity by 2030 with the support of its population. And here, indeed, data and IT platforms are essential to translate this goal to the general public and to the municipality, the urban planners that needs to do it. In order to understand better the potential of the renewable energy they have in the area, and also taking into account their carbon accounting profile. So in fact, data platforms like this, the digital twins that I mentioned, so are replicas of your virtual replicas of your real environment, can really help to better visualize a problem and giving you opportunities to see different scenarios and evaluate different scenarios against each other, and then screening also the existing city's infrastructure, perhaps digital one, that could support the development of these different scenarios and also translating into investment options that could be improving the renewable energy situation for the citizens. So this is a quite interesting way. You can use this digital twin to decide on the different, refine the different use cases that you will target on, and also support the city planning with these optimal strategies. And here in this particular case, the optimization was around the arrangement for photovoltaic system and the electric vehicle charging station. So that project is still running. So if you're interested in that, we can share more information about that.
Yes, we'll share the links and the presentation after. That's great. Thank you very much, Helen. Let's see if we have some questions from the audience.
Sure. Indeed, we received some interesting questions, and notably one from Naideya. This question is, could you please tell me if a project related to an intelligent transport system is eligible for the topic technology in the city? I'd like to give the floor to Georg to respond to this question. To Gabriel. Sorry, my mistake. Gabriel, are you with us?
Maybe we can give the floor to François, if he's still with us, to take this question. Since he works also at DG Regio.
Or maybe I can go for the next questions. So the next question is from Diogo, and Diogo would like to know if the expense associated with renovating a formal industrial space with the possibility of reconstituting into a tech hub.
De répéter la question, s'il vous plaît, j'ai pas.
So you're back.
Thank you, François. Yes, I will.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
No problem. No,
Yeah.
don't worry. Don't worry. So I will repeat the first question. So the first question was if a project related to intelligent transport system is eligible for technology in the city topic.
Okay, thank you for repeating that one, Amélie, and indeed a very valid one in the light of presentations and interventions from former colleagues. Indeed, there are a lot of interrelations between energy transition and digitalization, and thus by nature and definition between the prompts of the two different topics of the call. There is really, it is really about the applicants making their own strategic choice, I would say. If the project is, well, directly focusing on the intelligent transportation, so on categories of investments that would have to do with urban public transport, so to say, and even, of course, if as part of it, there is a reference to smart technology, or to digitalization of this public transport, I would rather consider and advise to apply under the topic related to the energy transition. But precisely from the point of view of where the impact would be, let's say, the most obvious to consider for the objectives and final goals of the projects in themselves, and rather position yourself on technologies in the cities where you would be perhaps tackling other policy areas and not fully dedicated. Not fully dedicated to transport, or having technologies used for quite a number of policy.
Yeah, I think we have lost François, but he might be back. As we are running a bit out of time, I suggest that we continue with the program and we will take questions at the next Q&A session.
Yes, the joys of live events. Well, I mean, if you want more information on the topics of the call, you can always have a look at the terms of reference. Everything is published on our website, so you can read all the prompts, and you can hear also more about the different resources that the speakers have mentioned. Maybe we can have a look at the questions from the quiz that we prepared for you.
Sure. It's another chance for you to win. So the next question. So yeah, go on Slido, fill in your name again, and you will see the next question appearing on Slido, but also on screen now. So this question is, which proposition below is not a prompt, so a subtopic of energy transition? So I think the question that was online is not the right one. I'm checking now.
No, I think
if on Slido
correct.
it is on Slido, so that's great. So please answer. I will publish the results now. So here we have the results, and you almost all responded that it's maximizing the energy demand. And the correct answer is appearing now, and this is, of course, the correct answer. So well done. I do have another question for you. Oh, sorry.
No, it's...
Do we have it on screen? So the next question is, which proposition below is not a prompt, so a subtopic, as I was saying earlier, of technology in the cities? So is it answering better and adapted public services? Is it perfecting the spatial planning and land use and industrial zoning? is it safe, secure, and resilient cities, or are we talking about the prompt strengthening natural and man-made disasters? We will look at the results now. Okay, so you all voted for strengthening natural and man-made disasters, and of course, this was the correct answers. It's not indeed the prompt under technology in the city. Thank you very much. I will give you the floor back, Kathleen.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll see each other at the next Q&A session and quiz.
So our next speaker is Stefania Giftopoulou. She is from the Greek municipality of Egaleo, and she is leading on the project Rock the Block that was approved in the first EU-wide call. So please welcome Stefania. Hi, I hope you can hear us. Can you tell us more about your project?
Yes, hi, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm going to present Rock the Block, a pilot project on affordable housing. I hope you can see the slide. So the overarching challenge to be tackled is the vicious cycle created between low housing quality, unsatisfied housing needs, and weak community bonds. Just very quickly, we have an aging building stock that has never been renovated, high rates of energy poverty and housing cost overburden, management issues within the blocks with low levels of agreement among residents, and fragmented housing strategies where shared problems within buildings are continuously addressed at different speeds. So the proposed solution tackles the related challenges in 3 pillars. First, the technical transformations, and by that we mean green, digital, aesthetic, functional, circular, and inclusive. Second, community building and upskilling. So here we go also at the neighborhood scale. And third, institutional interventions for care and support. So what is different in this project is that it employs the building, the polykatοικία as we call it, as the intervention unit, in contrast to most policy and financial instruments that focus on households. An important step towards housing affordability is solving common problems collectively, such as heating, waste management, greening, sharing, repairing of equipment, etc. Thus, the city is designing an open call for polykatοικίες. The selected ones will work together with a group of experts to co-frame the challenges they face at building level and co-design action plans. These action plans are going to be translated into upskilling activities as well as technical studies for works, which the city will tender. In this sense, it both requires and cultivates community bonds and self-organization. And lastly, the city will set up a new urban policy tool from the public call, assessment, contracting, consultation, funding scheme, and 2 offices, the housing office, a one-stop shop to offer advice and support on housing, and the co-living hub for collective action, mutual support, and upskilling. The work that we're going to do will be depicted into roadmaps and a policy brief to be used by policymakers and especially the region, the West region, as input to future housing strategies. And to achieve the above, we have set up a quadruple helix partnership, which includes us, the city, 3 academic research institutions, 4 NGOs, and 2 private companies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stefania. So most of the people here today are wondering if they're going to apply and are maybe preparing their project proposal. So which advice would you give them?
I think that what was common in all 3 cities I have worked with is that they shared the belief that they cannot act alone when it comes to responding to complex urban issues. So I would say be open to share responsibilities and power, and involve those actors not usually involved. Come together, bring their expertise to think out of the box.
And so when were you designing when you were designing your project, what were the things that you noticed that you would tell other people, like, keep this in mind when applying, when designing your project?
Well, three things very quickly. Involve as many city departments as possible, support them in working together and build a different culture of collaboration across silos. This can ensure an integrated approach to the challenge you want to tackle. Also involve policymakers at different scales early enough. Do not wait until the end of the project to do that. For example, at Rock the Block, we created within the project an advisory board where relevant stakeholders are members. A project having a use value is important to keep people interested and to respond to real needs. So again, include activities where you get beneficiary input and involve them in both framing the challenge and designing the solution.
Great. And if you were to do things differently, would you change anything to your project?
Cities learn a lot during implementation, and you want this knowledge to stay within the city. Also, knowledge coming from partners, project partners, the processes, the tools, the learning. So I would say keep public servants involved during implementation. And a second one is use culturally and age-appropriate participatory methods and tools. Sometimes we tend to use sophisticated methods, but maybe the simplest form of discussion or workshop with beneficiaries can be more effective.
Yeah, sometimes simple is very good, true. Great, thank you very much, Stefania.
Thank you.
Thanks. We're going to move to the next part of the presentation today. We're basically going to discuss with two former assessors. So their role in EUI is to take part in the strategic assessment. So before we give them the floor, maybe we're going to share with you two slides to kind of show you the overall picture. So the assessment for EUI is done in two steps. We first have the strategic assessment, which is basically 70% of the score. And we're then moved to the operational assessment. It's quite important to note that not all projects, they move to the second step. So if your project is not among the shortlisted application, then the journey kind of stops there. So that's why it's very important that you think about developing a good narrative to convince the external panel of assessors. If we have a look at what's inside an application form, it's divided into two different sections. We first have the summary, the description of all the partners that are going to be involved, and then part C, which is what we call the strategic description. So it talks about why your project is needed, why it is innovative, and how also it fits in either energy transition or technology in the city. And the overall application is a very lengthy document. So strategic assessors are only looking at the first three parts, part A, part B, part C. So these parts need to be very well developed to convince them when they're assessing your proposals. So we've invited two of them, Luca De Stefano and Carlotta Fioretti, who will be able to share their tips. Hi, both.
Hi, hello, everyone.
Hi, so I'll start because I can't see you, right? Great. Hi, Luca. I guess
Hi.
Carlotta is here as well.
Yes, hello, everybody.
So what were the main areas for improvement that you've seen when you were assessing project proposals? And maybe, Luca, you can start with this question.
Sure. I think it's quite interesting. I'll try to go to maybe the one area that I believe is at the core then of the success of each proposal. We talked a lot about innovation. This is an innovation call. And still, surprisingly, it's very challenging, we noticed, throughout the two calls I evaluated, to really set a solid ground for innovation in projects. Like, very often what happens is that due to the context and the complexity of putting together such a big proposal, projects tend to collect a lot of best practices in one basket. So they try to just put together all the new cool things that are around and then hope that they will reach a sufficient degree of innovation rather than really pushing for something new. So at the end of the day, what we notice is that projects that score the most are actually the ones that truly experiment. And that's a bit the challenge. How do you manage to still work with a lot of stakeholders while delivering something really new in the European context, something that hasn't been tested before?
And Carlotta, would you agree with these points that this was a main area of improvement when reading projects?
Yes, definitely. I think that this was something that I also noticed when in my experience as assessor. And if I can add something else, a main shortcoming that I noticed in several projects is that they were not paying enough attention to what was the challenge that was tackled by the project. In the sense that, of course, every innovative solution born out of a challenge, the reason behind is that there are some issues that the city experiences and to develop an innovative solution in order to tackle this challenge. But often the project were not able to identify this challenge clearly, so they were vague or unclear, or the challenge was fuzzy. So the first thing that I suggest is to identify very well the challenge, make sure that this is aligned with the topic of the call. Other colleagues mentioned it before. And then that the challenge is also specific to your territory. And so you should describe it with a wealth of granular data. This is very important to identify data that explain what is the challenge that you are facing, because in this way you will be able also to build the intervention logic of your project. So from the challenge to the objectives to the desired change that you would like to reach. And also, if you have enough data to describe the baseline situation, this will be very helpful to measure the possible impact of your project. And this is another very important part of the project proposal, the measurability, to say what's the impact that you would like to achieve and measure it with the indicators.
Great. And so, Luca, you were talking about the innovativeness, and it's true that we are looking for projects that bring something different. How would you recommend that applicants address this question in their proposals?
Okay, there is maybe here a practical tip that I could share with you. At the end of the day, these proposals are very complex, but there is a core to every proposal, like a key idea. In the project that Stefania just shared, it was about the single housing typology and intervening at that scale rather than at the unit scale, right? So the whole block. I think what's important, maybe, and what could practically work well, what seems to be a success factor, is clarifying what is the core idea, what is the core innovation of your project. Having maybe a power sentence, like a very long sentence that states clearly what is your innovative point and what is the challenge you assess and how you will make it better. It can be very simple, it can be very straightforward, and then around that you can start building.
Yeah, so one clear sentence that kind of summarizes your innovative idea. A lot of data, Carlotta mentioned, granular data to show why you have an issue in your project, in your city, and how you're going to address it. That can also be used as baselines, so that's quite important. What would be your top 3 tips or top tips for applicants? I'll ask this to you, Luca, as you have the floor, and then to Carlotta.
Top 3 tips?
3 or...
One would be maybe to, we are talking about an innovation call on technology. So use technology. We have artificial intelligence out there, and some of us could be fans, some others could be against it, but it is indeed a very big statistical brain. So use it to challenge your idea. very often you might stay in a bubble. You might fall in love with your initial idea, but if you throw in your core sentence and ask ChatGPT or any other AI to tell you why that idea is not innovative and how you could improve it, I'm sure a lot of new inputs will come. And then maybe I'll do just a second one, Caitlin, and I will not do three.
That's fine.
The second one is more practical or more subtle. As assessors, we go through your proposal, not once, not 2 times, but multiple times. We talk about it with another assessor, so we have to go back to it pretty often. That means having to find key information more and more. I know that the temptation to explain things in a very complex and structured way, try to grasp the depth of what you're trying to propose is important, but at the same time, I think if you want to keep your text's structure and to the point, it will really help getting the important ideas across so they don't get lost. So this is my recommendation. I would really try to be straightforward, structured texts, make the important things, put them in the front, and then everything else supports them.
That's a very, very good idea. And you, Carlota, what would be your main tips as an assessor?
So one of my main tips is to try to make a project that is place-based. It is important that your project is specific, to the place, to the territory, as I said, to the challenges that the city is experiencing. And if you identify very well what are also the opportunities that are in your city, in your territory, this will allow to embed the project in this specific place, and also, as other colleagues said before from the European Commission, to embed it in local strategies. This is very important, SUD strategy or other type of strategy that the city has. Yeah. Then a second tip that is very practical is to look at existing EU networks of cities that are dealing with the same topic and the same challenge. I think that this is very important because it will help you to identify best practices and to verify the innovativeness of your project against these practices, to see what you are doing that is innovative. And second, it will help you also for another very important part of the project proposal, that it's the transfer. Mm-hmm. So to identify possible transfer partners. So as a last thing, I think that it would be useful, for example, if you think about your project as a kind of a pilot, and try to ask yourself how it can be scaled up after, how it can be replicated and where. And this is very important, to find a good transfer partner that are sharing the same challenge, and you should demonstrate that they will benefit from replicating the project there.
Great. Thank you, Carlota. Thank you, Luca. Stay with us because I know you prepared 2 questions for the quiz, so we can have a look at these 2 questions, but and then exchange with you. So back to you, Emily.
Thank you, Kathleen. And to know what are the questions, I invite the participants to go back in the poll section of Slido. Normally your name is already filled in, but if it's not, please fill in it again. So the first question is, which project proposal is likely to receive a lower score for innovation? So please respond to this question. You have 3 options. The first one is replicating EU best practices. The second one is developing untested new solutions. And the third one is combining existing solutions in a novel way. I think we can go maybe not to the results, because I'd like to have the experts actually giving the correct answers and explaining the why this is the correct answer. Luca, Carlota, the floor is yours.
Hi. Should I go, Carlota, or you want to take the floor?
No, please go.
Yeah, I think this is a concept you already introduced before. Innovation means testing something new in the EU context. So surely, if you put together a lot of best practices, but none of them is new, then the only degree of innovation you're relying on is the way you combine them together, which is new, could be new, but it needs to bring solid degree of innovation, let's say. So it needs to bring a solid novelty in something that exists already. So I would rather, in applications, consider testing even existing technologies, but in a new way, rather than just bringing a lot of best practices and hoping they will make a very solid project.
Thank you, Lucas. So we have now the next question appearing on Slido. And this question is, why is defining your challenge crucial in a funding application? So, yeah, here you have the options. So it sets a clear impact framework. It establishes measurable impact criteria. It helps identify key stakeholders. And the last answers is all of the above. So don't be shy, respond to the question. This is your last chance to win. So let's go to see the results now. Okay, all of the above would be, according to you, the right answers. So, and now I'm giving the floor to Carlotta to provide the correct answer.
So yes, Emily, at the end, the right answer was all of the above, because I mentioned before that how is important to identify the challenge, of course, to set a clear framework, to establish measurable criteria to assess the impact of your project, but also, and I didn't mention it enough before, to identify key stakeholder. This is very important for the successfulness of the project, to understand who are the stakeholders that can really bring something valuable, add value to the implementation of the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlotta. Kathleen, I'm giving you the floor back.
Let's have a look if we have maybe the last question of the quiz. So this one is a bit more tricky because it refers to something we said at the very start. Emily, what's the next question for the quiz?
Sure. Thank you, Kathleen. I forgot that there was like a very last one, and this is the very last chance for you to win. So Hola. Yeah, so the question is, what is the total budget allocated for call 3? The first proposition is 5 million euros ERDF. The second is 20 million euros ERDF. The third one is 50 million ERDF. And the last one is 90 million ERDF. Please answer, and we will go now to the results. So the total budget allocated for call 3, according to you, is 90 million. And I can tell you that it's a good answer. Well done. Thank you very much. We will have a look now to the winner of this fun quiz. And the winner is, we have a lot of winners, actually. I mean, a lot of people who gave us the right answers. Bravo. Congratulations. Balatz Kapli is our first winner, and with 7 points, and you responded so fast that you actually win the possibility to have one-on-one bilateral consultation together with my colleagues of the EY Permanent Secretariat to support you during the application process at any time you would need it. So feel free to contact us at innovativeaction@urban-initiative.eu, but we will contact you also later to provide you those details. Congratulations again, and I'm giving the floor back to Kathleen to conclude this info session. Thank you very much to all for all of your questions during this session.
Great, thank you very much, Emily. Congratulations to the winner. Indeed, we are organizing online consultations with interested applicants. So this is an opportunity that will be open for everyone, but you will have specific times and dates where we can have a meeting, whereas the winner of the quiz can decide himself or themselves on the time and quiz that the time and date that they want to have their online consultation. So yes, have a look at the offer that we propose for call 3. You can find everything on the call 3 page. We also have a lot of resources that are already accessible online, like our guidance, the description of the topics, previous videos that we recorded on lots of important aspects like transfer that we mentioned, measurability that we mentioned. So have a look at what is there available. I also want to mention 2 in-person events that we are organizing in June. These will be applicant seminars, so you can come and listen to our presentation, discuss, have a one-to-one consultation. The first one is going to be organized pretty soon, actually, on the 13th of June in Bucharest, in Romania, and the second is going to be on the 27th of June in Prague, in Czech Republic. Thank you very much for your participation. I want to also say a massive thank you to the speakers who joined us, to Amelie, who is here actually next to me in the room, and to our colleagues backstage moderating the questions. We hope to see you very soon. Bye.